Good morning again to all. Warm welcome. Thank you for joining our session. So the topic today is when and how to set up a new corporate social investor. And for this session, we have the pleasure to have two inspiring and experienced corporate impact leaders. We have Åsa Skogström Feldt. I tried to find my best Swedish accent, and sorry, Åsa, if it's not perfect. Åsa is a lead at IKEA Social Entrepreneurship. And we have Margot Cooijmans, Executive Director at Philips Foundation. Thanks for being with us, both of you. So I'd like to, a brief word on two of you. Åsa, very interesting to have you with us to discuss this topic, because actually I looked at your profile, and your profile is very much, you had several leadership positions in both a business and impact world. And I guess this is so precious to have this background to discuss this typical hybrid topic we have today. Yeah, as a foundation, at what point it's valuable to set up a new investment vehicle. So we're very lucky. Thank you again. So as an introduction, I'd like, and Nicola, please, if you can just show and share with our participants the slide with the spectrum of capital, with the to help us positioning the different corporate social investors and what are we talking about.
Yep, coming up.
Yeah.
I'm admitting more people here.
Sure.
Come on. All right. Come on. Okay. Let's do it. Okay.
No problem. You know why? No problem.
Hang on. It's coming. It's coming.
I keep going, and it will come.
I got it here. Do you see it?
Yes, fantastic. Super. Super. So here on the slide, when we talk about corporate social investor, what are we talking about? We're talking about, and you see on this spectrum, on the left side, you have the traditional grant making, and on the right-hand side, traditional finance, mainstream finance. So actually, we see that, you know, what we call corporate social investor at EVPA are those impact vehicles totally dedicated to the generation of impact. And you have a different type of vehicle. You have the corporate foundations, typically on the left side. You have shareholders foundation, and typically in IKEA organization, IKEA Foundation is a shareholder foundation, which has some consequences on the choices when it comes to set up a new impact vehicle. We'll see that in a few minutes. But moving to the right side, we also see corporate social business, corporate social impact funds, corporate impact accelerator. And on the right-hand side, we see the corporate impact venturing, and those teams are very much this M&A team, the venture capital team inside the corporate organization, usually very close to the finance team of the group. And so on this spectrum, you really see that how the corporate social investors are positioned in this space, and are unique opportunities in bridging the social and the private sector very much. So today we're going to discuss typically, you know, as a foundation or as, and this is the case of Philips Foundation, or as a company, typically IKEA company, when and how I decide that, yes, it's the time to set up a new investment vehicle. So I would like to ask for 5 minutes each. I would like to ask, we start with Åsa and then Margot. To each of you, I would like to ask you to present briefly your organization, the team you represent, and why at some point, you know, Åsa, it was decided to set up IKEA Social Entrepreneurship and what it is about, what was it set up, what are the drivers, and Margot, the Philips Foundation does not have yet the impact fund, but is thinking about it, and tell us more about it, a bit of the drivers of this strategic thinking. So handing over to you, Åsa, thank you, please.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And as you rightly explained, my background is mixed. I worked in super corporate assignments as leader and then in NGO leadership. And now I think I have the privilege to work in the intersection between the two. And I think that's a very interesting space for social innovation and also for new types of business models for the future we're going to create together. So briefly about IKEA. So hopefully all of you have good knowledge about what we do. We are a home furnishing company and have been around for 77 years. And in our business direction, we have the ambition to become circular by 2030. And that's an ambition that is triggering us to think in new ways and also to partner with a lot of different stakeholders, because you cannot become circular on your own. Looking back in the IKEA history, I think we started in the 80s and 90s to work with social initiatives in the business. Then we realized that some of those initiatives, like partnering with UNICEF and UNDP, were better to do in a foundational structure, and that's when the IKEA Foundation was founded. And in 2012, we started to do some business with social enterprises, because in our business direction, we see that one of the challenges is, of course, the growing inequalities, and we wanted to be more inclusive. So we tried to do business with social businesses and social entrepreneurs, which worked out. It takes a lot of work and it goes a little bit across our processes. So a lot of hand-holding and development of those social businesses. And then when we looked at the tools we had, we saw that due to legislation in the Netherlands, we could not do certain initiatives and accelerators and investments that we wanted to do for people who are vulnerable and marginalized that could lead to business. And in the business, we did not have those capabilities either. So we found there was a gap in between the two. So some 3 years ago, we decided that to look into how can we bridge that gap in the best possible way. And we saw that for us that is incorporated in the Netherlands, the best way would be to establish a daughter company affiliated to our franchisor, the company that owns the brand and the products, and make it BV, private limited, but with a social mission in the charter of the company. And why did we do that? Because we wanted to work of philanthropy in business. We wanted to be able to both invest in the social businesses that we were doing business with, but we also saw that there was a need to grow the social entrepreneurship movement. So we wanted to create accelerators that were more philanthropic to scale and bridge what was going on in the foundation. And also we wanted to work with impact investments. And I would say of the three different types that you described, we actually work in all three. So we both broaden and through our acceleration and find new social innovations that are interesting to learn from and partner with. We also scale the current business partners and we go deeper in communities and neighborhoods close to where we have our stores. So that's a little bit about the background.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And you already anticipated my next question. That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Åsa. So Margot, yeah, as I mentioned, an impact investing fund is not yet in place, but you're going to share with us, please, why this strategic thinking is now at the foundation. What are the drivers? And yes, it would be fantastic if you can tell us a bit what is this impact strategy you're pursuing? Thank you, Margot.
I will, Sophie. Thanks a lot, and welcome to you all on behalf of Philips Foundation. We have the privilege of being one of the hosts of this conference. Philips Foundation, it was established only 6 years ago in 2014, while the company was initiated in 1891. And since the beginning of Philips as a company, it was always concerned with societal issues. So it always had all kinds of activities in society to improve the surroundings or the environment of their employees, but also creating sports facilities and healthcare facilities and music and leisure facilities in the cities where and the surroundings where the company was active. So in 2014, the foundation was established because in growing towards a global company, the number of societal activities worldwide had become so big and such a patchwork of different activities that the initiative was taken to establish a foundation. So in the beginning, the foundation was the platform for societal activities by the company, more or less. The company contributes financially. It also donates people like myself to the foundation. I'm on the payroll of the company, but the foundation is a separate legal entity, a not-for-profit entity. And of course, we have a vast program of societal activities, projects, and also disaster relief. We did a lot in COVID-19 this year, of course. And every market where Philips is active can submit activities that we can fund. Now, recently we started working with social entrepreneurs through Ashoka. Ashoka selects for us, while the company has grown towards a healthcare technology giant, let's say, a software company. Of course, the foundation had to align its mission much more towards healthcare as well. And the foundation typically sees as its mission to provide access to care to disadvantaged communities. worldwide. There are so many people that have no access to quality healthcare. So that's where we as a foundation, but also with the capacities of the company, can be of support. We see that working with social entrepreneurs is a good way to create lasting impact, lasting change. And we want to establish, not only by donations, a one-off improvement for a group of people, but we really want to establish system change by collaboration and by deploying the capacities of the company. This means that apart from just donations, we stepped into issuing loans to social entrepreneurs in that space of creating access to care to disadvantaged or underserved communities. And because they are able to pay back, but you need to be patient, you need to be involved, and you can also support those entrepreneurs with, again, talents and capacities from the company and from the team in the foundation. And then when they can pay you back in time, of course, your impact fund grows bigger. The impact funds or budget grows bigger and becomes revolving. Now, why are we thinking still about another vehicle to really address social impact investing? What we are missing is a way to be really involved in social entrepreneurs and maybe deploy Philips technology as well, in order to together grow the scale of the enterprise and both benefit from impacts and profit. Of course, Philips Foundation is a not-for-profit, as I said, and it's difficult to gain a profit or to work in the interest of the commercial company. So, but still, we believe that creating initiatives that are financially sustainable are a better way to address impact, to address sustainable system change in healthcare. And especially primary healthcare, so the first entrance into a healthcare system, which is missing in many areas in the world still. So that's where we now are discussing. We took the initiative to discuss with the company to establish, like Åsa says as well, as a bridge or a vehicle in between foundation and company, independently. But both putting the knowledge of the foundation in place, where it has a lot of experience in underserved communities, low resource settings, but also deploying the company's strength in technology and helping to address digital healthcare, remote, so telehealth facilities, applications that can help address all kinds of first information about disease topics. So where a doctor is missing, digital can really help. But to deploy that, rightfully and in its basic strength, we see that establishing companies and maybe gaining a profit or at least break even is something you have to really work hard towards. It's not something that just by providing funds will happen. It is deploying entrepreneurial skills. It is doing more than just hoping that through a fund, change will happen. It is really collaborating and getting feedback and discussing also what to do to improve the situation and to overcome maybe obstacles, or because there are always obstacles. So it's funding, yes, but it's also deploying all of the capacities and the talents and the technologies and capabilities of both parties to establish change.
Fantastic, very clear. Thank you, Margot. Before we break up in small groups, when we be able to continue the discussion with each of you in small groups. I already have a question in the chat for both of you ladies. So do you look at partners in your supply chain to have social impact, or is it broader? And how do you choose the social projects? How do you decide which projects are eligible? What type of decision-making process is in place, Åsa, and would you have in mind, Margot?
Okay.
Thanks. Great question. Thank you. We are not only looking in our supply, actually, we are looking much more broader, because we see that the challenges that we all stand next to or inside of affects so many aspects of us being part of the world and as a corporate. So only of the more than 100 social entrepreneurs that we work with, actually, I would say 10% or something is in the supply chain, and others are somehow connected to our the societal impact, but not having a transactional relationship. So our criteria, and you can go to our website, I'll drop the link in the chat later. So we have created a theory of change that then will decide the criteria for whom we will partner with. Our first purpose is to support people who are vulnerable and marginalized to live a better everyday life. So that's our first mission. And we then partner with social entrepreneurs that work with these target groups around the world. So it could be everything from smallholder farmers in Africa to indigenous peoples in Latin America to women in rural areas in India with little education or no access to jobs. So context analysis. And then we see that the sectors that they work within, there are many that are very relevant for us as IKEA. So we have a lot of social entrepreneurs that work in affordable housing and better living, better life at home, for instance. That is one area. Of course, the whole circular area. There is a lot of social entrepreneurs that work with recycle, upcycle, take back, refurbishing. And that is, of course, has to be part of our business model going forward. In the value chains, both of our products, and we also have a big food business part. And also in the people development, I mean, we see we all need to reskill. All of us, we need to unlearn and relearn all the time. And there are many groups of people that will really have to relearn the coming years. And that's an important part. And of course, the whole community and society being a good neighbor development. So there are quite some sectors that we see are very related to our business, but maybe not transactional.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Åsa. Margot?
Yeah, supply chain. Well, as a foundation, we don't have a supply chain really. So if you ask, is the company looking for impact in its supply chain, then the answer is absolutely yes. Mainly ecological impact, because the company has a high ambition in becoming carbon neutral in the coming years, but also circular economy and trying to reuse materials and provide healthcare as a service. So the answer there is absolutely yes. We as a foundation, until now, we have chosen our projects and activities by a set of criteria. One is the activity has to address a disadvantaged community. So a community that is not served yet regarding quality healthcare. Secondly, it should be access to care, of course. It should be in the healthcare space. It should be digital, because we believe that digital solutions can really help make healthcare more affordable. and therefore help enter poorer people into the healthcare system. But we also have to, of course, collaborate with insurance companies or schemes. What makes healthcare affordable and payable. Thirdly, it can never be a for-profit for the company. It cannot serve any private interest. And that's also what we have really to watch for in supporting social entrepreneurs. It cannot be in order, our support cannot be in order to scale their companies. And that's also a reason to believe in a separate vehicle that can do so, that can really support in any way to help scale the social enterprise, because if we think it's a viable solution they provide in access to care for disadvantaged people. So that is something you want to scale. And if we cannot do that with the foundation, then we have to find a way to create an ecosystem where we can do so. So that's again an answer to the question, to the previous question of why create a social impact fund or entity.
Yeah.
So that about the criteria. I don't know whether there's still questions around that.
All of the participants will have an opportunity in a minute to discuss. Big pleasure to discuss with each of you in two separate breakup session. Just to clarify, Margot, among the three collective impact strategy, where do you recognize your strategy be more? Is it like deepening social impact? Is it scaling? A bit of the two?
A bit of the three, I would say. It's also scope. It's also really focusing on what we want to establish. So the scope is really narrowing. So access to care and nothing else. Also digital means, using digital means because that can reach people in remote areas. But of course, yes, scaling, we want to reach impact in high numbers. Just as a background, until now, we have been able to annually touch upon the lives of 5 million people, more or less, with the foundation's work. This year, we have reserved, let's say, to crack the nut or crack the code for scale. And it's a high ambition that we have set for ourselves. We want to reach 100 million people. So to provide access to care, to quality healthcare to 100 million people by 2030. That's also connected to SDG 3, Sustainable Development Goal 3. And if we keep on working in the way we do, we will not reach that number. So we really have to think differently. We have to innovate. And that's a reason to also think about this new way of working that can be for impact, for profit, and collaborate, of course, with different complementary skills, companies as well as social entrepreneurs, as well as NGOs, whoever can help reach that impact that we look for. There are still too many people without healthcare to really step up just with 100,000 people annually. So we just have a big ambition, and that is also aligned with the company's mission. So I'm privileged to work for or with a company that is really ambitious also in its societal impact, to be relevant in its core business, not only ecologically, but also societally. So it wants to reach these people in underserved communities as well. So it's really, what we do is really aligned with the mission of the company. And I think, to be honest, in the future that corporate foundations can dissolve because it will all be in the core business. So that's maybe more of a wish. to work on than reality today. But I think if a company will not be relevant in the future in its core business, then its future will be really fragile.
Wow, wow, what a vision. Yeah, I have heard before that, you know, corporate social responsibility team would disappear ultimately, as the sustainability would be totally taken into account and into business units. That I had heard, but it's really the first time I'm hearing that, yeah, a foundation could at some point, yeah, maybe disappear, because the purpose and the impact I mentioned would be totally embedded in the business unit. This is the graal, this is the ultimate goal. At the same time, yeah, don't know. Maybe we, when impact and business are intertwined and very much combined, yeah, in that respect, I understand a corporate foundation could disappear. On the other hand, what could thought, you know, if it's totally for some a thematic, it's very difficult to embed the business dimension with the impact, and then it's pure philanthropy, and maybe we could take then keep a very separate team for that. But anyway, super great thought. Thank you very much. So in a minute, you're going to be, all of you, dear participants, split up in breakout rooms. So Nicola, please, our magician, is going to lead us to our rooms. And I see you at 10 to 12. So we'll actually have 15 minutes in breakout rooms. Thank you. See you in 15 minutes. Merci, Nicolas. So welcome back to all again. A very rich discussion. I can share a couple of insights from our end. We discussed about indeed the transformative power of such a hybrid vehicle, which is an impact investing fund, or typically a vehicle, an investment vehicle like IKEA Social Entrepreneurship, which really combine the beauty of philanthropy and also other financial tools like equity and debt. And indeed, it's because it's hybrid, the transformative power towards for the benefits of the business becoming a force for good, more sustainable and inclusive, is far more easier with a true investment vehicle rather than a foundation, because a foundation is with grants only, even if it's aligned with its business, is often anyway needs to be at minimum at arm's length, just because of legal and tax reasons. Let's be frank, it's a very thin thread, thin border. So transformative power, yeah, we discussed that very clearly. How do we measure the positive impact that this vehicle creates? It is a challenge. Impact measurement and management are always a challenge, but even more when it comes to show the rest of the organization, the business, that the adding value of such a vehicle. And it's key in terms of communication, in terms of showing and demonstrating the adding value of such a vehicle. So we discussed that. It's quite remarkable, and it's certainly very instrumental in such a process. And we also discussed the fact that, yes, as Margot was saying, but as I also said, yeah, you need to put ambitious targets to push the boundaries inside the corporate organization for a successful delivery of impact. Huh? And we discussed about the theory of change, of course, which was very interesting because it's not only beneficial to the foundation and the investment vehicle, but also beneficial to the business, as they are able to see themselves where they are in the mapping, and the mapping of the stakeholders inside the corporate organization, and how they should optimize their interaction. So super interesting. Nicola, do you want to share a few insights, or shall we go to ultimate questions?
No, I was thinking maybe Margot or someone else from the room could share insights, because they're the ones who had the discussion. I know we talked about early stage investments, but I'm not a professional of those, so I would rather let Margot speak about this, if that's okay.
Yeah, Margot, please.
You're muted.
So very briefly, maybe we talked about the stages. You need really high risk capital to provide funding in the first stage of a social enterprise, for instance, or an impact enterprise. So are you willing to take that risk? That was one of the questions. And you have different stages of enterprises and different vehicles and different funds, let's say, that would step in. So we need to take high risks as a foundation, as opposed to donations. You can provide loans or maybe even impact investments, but accept that there is a big risk, because when you have to wait until the banks or the real official institutions would step in, they would want to see returns on investment that you cannot promise in the beginning. So that's one. The second one was we talked about collaboration with other corporate foundations, and how do you or do you do that? And the answer is yes. At least in our case, we would like to see that even more, and to form coalitions of parties that can do, maybe also take several responsibilities within such a coalition.
Super, thank you so much. As a last question, I'd like to ask you to each of you, for the participants who are in the sessions, who are belonging to corporate foundations, or on the company side, who are corporate managers willing to further engage their organization into strategic thinking to enhance, high scale impact. What are the arguments to convince their top management to set up such an investment vehicle, in a few words?
You want to hear it from me?
Yes, please, Margot.
I would say alignment. So I was talking before about the mission and ambition of Philips as a company. And I think that's a true ambition, meaning that there is an open ear for any way that can lead to fulfilling that ambition. So if I come up with ideas to enhance the impact, then I will always have a time slot to talk about it, and to also find ways to achieve it, to make it happen, to really execute. So it's not difficult in my case to convince them, I would say.
Same for me, not difficult. Actually, I was hired to do it. But I think what was the key is, of course, as you say, Margot, that we are delivering to our direction, and we have a clear direction, and we also realize that we cannot create these transformational changes alone, and that we believe that social entrepreneurs are great, not only transactional partner, but also transformational partners. We see many social entrepreneurs that work on the systemic level.
Yeah.
Of course, where we would like to go in the end. because solving social challenges one neighborhood at a time takes a long time. But if we can really create new interventions on a systemic level, then we can really make big transformations together. And we see that social entrepreneurs are great at some that work on the systemic level to facilitate those collaborations with the local governments, with all the corporates and all the different stakeholders that are needed to create that transformation. So for us, it's also a way to work with social innovation and try to scale it in partnership with others. And we also try to work a lot with other corporates and ignite the idea. We are both part of the COVID-19 Alliance with World Economic Forum, for instance, where a lot of entities working on these topics try to also inspire other corporates to join the movement. So we're not in our own bubble, but that we're trying to create the new world that Margot referred to, where we're all social. And I actually have another angle to what you said before. I don't believe that social entrepreneurs will be a category in the future, because all companies have to be social companies.
Nice.
Wow, that's a wonderful conclusion, ladies. Thank you so much. Very frustrating. I think I would love to continue the whole afternoon, this discussion. Thank you so much, Margot and Haza. Margot, dear sponsor, thank you for making this event possible. Margot, thank you, Philips Foundation. Thank you for your sharing of experience. I wish you a very good day to all, and see you at the next session. Thank you very much.